Hello everyone. Today I would like to show out my sliders really quick. Try not to waste too much of your time. Uh, Obviously, if you're playing the game, you already know the game is not in a good state. Tackling, blocking, user skills. So you already know like these sliders are real in terms of replicating a NFL uh, in real life experience. This is not to keep games close. This is not to, um, you know, make like the QB feel like realistic or the running feel realistic. This is for the entirety of the game, your franchise, and so on. 45. I felt that 50 was too overpowered, at least for me. Pass blocking, I had no time in the pocket, so 64 was that sweet spot where uh, I have enough time sometimes, and then sometimes I have no time in the pocket. Wide receiver catching, I have it at 48 because it was that sweet spot where my receivers would obviously drop a pass sometimes and they would catch sometimes. And in the NFL, even the best receivers sometimes drop passes, and that completely changes the aspect of the game, changes the momentum of the game, and so on. So I put it to 48 because that's where uh, what I desired is what happened. Run blocking, I had a 64, but 62 because some runs would get completely blown up, and then some runs I would completely take the entire field. Um, 64, I got 250 yards of Saquon Barkley. Obviously, we do not want that. We want realism. 62, I had around 150 yards or so. Or it was either 150 or I had just broken 100 yards around halfway through the third quarter. Um, Fumbles, I wanted to replicate the NFL where a player fumbles, but they learn to secure the ball the next time around they go on a drive. So that's why I did 45. Um, Pass defense reaction time. I wanted my defense to react how they do in real life. Obviously, if a receiver cooks, a DB, or if a DB doesn't really see a receiver do a cut because they're looking at the QB, this basically happens. 35 was the sweet spot. Pass coverage is at 20 because if this is matched, at least for the player, for the user, it's kind of easy to master like linebacker play, and then to lock down the middle of the field and lock down the outside of the field. So what I did is I downed it by 15, and I found that pass coverage along with 35 reaction time was actually pretty good. It it made it to where my DBs could recover, right? But their coverage was kind of bad, and then like they were able to secure the tackle to where they wouldn't allow a run after catch, and that's usually what happens in the NFL. But sometimes the wide receiver gets away with it and does run after catch and either scores or they get a lot of yards, and that's what I replicated with these numbers. Tackling is bad for the user. I'm pretty sure everybody knows this. So um, the 64, 65 was a little too overpowered. I was tackling like anything and everything. 64 was the sweet spot though. I will recommend if you want to tackle, um, don't hold R2 or the right trigger. Only do that when you're in pursuit or when you're trying to get to somebody. But let go of it when you're gonna go for a tackle. Also hold down L1 or the left bumper and hold down strafe as well to make the tackling a little better as well. But that's really all I can recommend in terms of tackling, even though it's pretty bad this year. QB accuracy for Trevor Lawrence, which I was in a Jacksonville game where I tested these sliders. Um, Trevor Lawrence was doing crossbody throws right at first, but then I downed it to 25, and he does those sometimes, but they're pretty like inaccurate and they're risky, and that's what I wanted. Pass blocking, I replicated what I have basically. It's just that the CPU for some reason this year is pretty like overpowered in all aspects of offense, defense, and special teams. So pass blocking for the CPU basically gives them time, but takes away time. Um, like it takes away time in terms of not giving them a lot of time in the pocket, and lets me have pressure because this was at 50, had no type of pressure, and 10 was the sweet spot. Wide receiver catching, this is low because uh, obviously for the realism, but for some reason the CPU wide receivers are able to like hold on to a ball like crazy. So 3 was that sweet spot. Also 3 allows for tipped balls to happen, which only happens for the user for some reason and not the CPU. So like I'm telling you, EA did not get it right again this year. Um, in terms of early on in Madden 23's lifespan, but run blocking, same way with pass blocking. I can stuff a run sometimes. I can't sometimes. Sometimes I let the run happen, but I'm able to recover pretty quick and only allow like 3 yards, 5 yards, etc. Fumbles, I tried replicating the same with me. Cause a fumble, but they learned to secure the ball next time. Pass defense reaction time, I have these two matching. The defense CPU is unbelievable. It's like 99 overall defenses, man. But I did this as low as I could, and 5 for both of them was pretty. It played pretty good. Um, Interceptions, hey man, linebackers still jump like 20 feet in the air to get an interception, but obviously your linebackers are never gonna do that. Um, and they still trust me. They do get interceptions at 3, and they do lock down my receivers at 5, and my plays at 5. Tackling, I have it at 10 because I just replicated what my 64 does. So pretend this 10 is a 64. Um, because the CPU for some reason knows how to tackle. So and obviously the user doesn't. So uh, but obviously with 10, I'm able to break tackles, and then I'm able to win the new tackle battles. I do recommend as soon as you catch a ball and your a defender's on you, try to stiff arm immediately, even if they're on your back. Your player will like do a I guess a back stiff arm, I suppose. I don't really know the word for it, but he ends up doing that sometimes, and then he can get space like that. Special teams, I don't know why you would want to make this difficult on yourself. It should always be 50-50 because it's either a good kick or not a good kick, a good punt or not a good punt. Injuries, I usually have this at 50 so that the realism aspect of an injury prone player comes into play. But I only had it at 15 to test out what type of injuries you get. Because apparently, for some reason, when the injury slider is low, you get some cool like injuries. Like you get some different types of injuries, like a neck injury and so on. So, but with 50, you get your normal like turf toe, abdominal tear. Your normal ones like that. They've always been in Madden. Fatigue's at 85. So because this slider complements the auto subs. And auto subs are completely preference because that's completely determined on your depth chart. and who you want to play in the game. Minimum player threshold, I have this at 45 because my receivers will not get any type of separation on their routes, and you want that, obviously, especially after you do a run after the catch, you want separation. So uh, I tried 47, but it was still no separation. I didn't try 46, but I feel like 45 is just, you might as well just do 45. The higher this one is, though, the higher this slider is, the faster slower players will be. And the lower it is, players like Tyreek Hill, which is obviously a fast player, he will be even faster. So, um, but obviously you don't want this too high or too low, because then it'll kind of mess up the games that you play. Penalties, I took this off a different YouTube video. I'll be honest. The only ones I really did on my own was these two. Oh no, no wait. The kicking ones, because EA for some reason still can't get it right. So these happen too often, and you don't want that happening to you or the CPU all the time. Um, but yeah, offsides. I can't get the CPU to go offsides, so I don't know. I guess up it. False start. Uh, hasn't really happened to me, but I'm pretty sure it will, since we're the user. It does happen a lot for the CPU, a little bit. But not. It only happens like in the like the third downs, or when it matters most, basically. Towards the end of the game, and holding doesn't really happen a lot, even at 99. Uh, I haven't had a PI happen, so I guess 99 will do the trick. And then face mask, I haven't had a face mask happen, but like I said, penalties. I feel like penalties are CPU based and not player based, because you wouldn't really want a PI because you wouldn't cause a PI. Why would you do that? So it's. I feel like penalties are CPU based. But those are the sliders. I'll show league settings. The only things I changed in league settings, it's all the same. All Madden simulation. I do use the new passing feature. The new system they have. I don't see why you wouldn't if you own the game. If you don't though, I'm pretty sure all these settings will work the same for you. Uh, but I turned off relocation settings. I've had this off for like the past 5 Maddens. When I did turn it off the first time, teams would relocate the next year or the next 2 years. It ruins the immersion. Not realistic. So and the only other thing that I changed was these clock management. Um, 15-minute quarters, 15-minute quarters in real life. The reason I have this at 12 is because, I have the CPU tends to have a motion play, right? A pre-snap motion. And they can't get the ball off in time because it's the CPU's like brain, like not using common sense. It's not that they're sloppy or anything. It's just that the CPU doesn't know to get it off quickly. And then the ball hawking, and then the defensive assist features, I have those on for me. Where are they? I think it's See, I use placement and accuracy. I have it near. This is default 7. I have that. I have this visible, but I have these on because, like I said, the DBs are shit in terms of the user. And this, I'm telling you, this still doesn't help you. It helps a little bit, but it's ultimately down to how the user plays. Like I said, if you want to intercept the pass, switch to the DB at the last second, or try to do a strafe right before you pick off the pass. And usually holding down triangle or Y works. It like holding it down, not tapping it. But then there's other times where tapping it works. So it just depends. Obviously, the more you play, the more you'll figure out how to intercept passes and so on. But other than that, yeah, that's pretty much it. I will show that I did test these sliders out a lot. As you can see, these are my other games. I only decided to change my sliders this game. I had 50-50 on all of these. As you can see, this one reached 70-56. Like, that's unrealistic. So towards the end, uh, I decided to change my sliders after this game because the Ravens absolutely had a Hall of Fame defense. Like, I had no separation, just kept getting picked off, and then the CPU would just destroy me in terms of running and then passing because Lamar Jackson had all the time. He wouldn't fumble. It was ridiculous. But you see, I played 7 times. I went in and out, in and out, in and out of playing this game, and then obviously the final game, obviously I won it because it's right here on the chart, and that's where I felt comfortable with the sliders, and that's when I decided to make this video. But yeah, hope this video helps. Uh, Obviously, the more you progress through your franchise, the more uh, you know, the more your sliders will have to change. Obviously, I'll try and post a video if I do update them in terms of when an update comes out or when I find something new into the game. But other than that, that's pretty much it. Hope these sliders help. Hope that these sliders give you that realistic feel that maybe you're also looking for. Um, but other than that, thanks for watching and have a good one.